Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering the FTX of the Alpha Company One Shepherd 2022 fall semester. This is where everything came together. We've had our initial events where everybody's got spun up on their individual task. We've done the STX with our collective task of movement to contact and mobile defense, and now we're stepping into the FTX. And in this FTX, I was in command of the Blue 4, and Kyle Jensen was in command of the Op 4. And the mission was, the Op 4 was invading our territory, doing a movement to contact to clear our forces out in advance of a major invasion. My job was to defend a given sector on the map that we'll show here in just a second, and go ahead and prevent him from doing his mission. First of all, we stepped off from our base after they had gone in, so we gave them some time to get in for fair gameplay. Then we stepped off. We then moved out to a place called Bill's Barn. To provide security, just in case the Op 4 stepping off just went into the tree line and set up a hasty ambush, I pushed out one team in a wedge formation to the front of the formation with a gap, with myself reinforcing them, and we traveled in a low fighting order, which means we had just our rattle battle and we had left our rucks behind to be brought up with some water when we called for it. I had the main body of my force rucked up, following at a distance behind us. That way, if the advance guard tripped into an ambush, the rest of the force would be able to ditch the rucks and react and not be caught in the kill zone unprepared. Upon arrival at Bill's Barn, we set in security, left the main body there. I then took my APL and one of my teams as a security element, and we moved out to the position that we were advised to set up a patrol base. That'll be indicated here on the map.
Pretty close to the fob. You got a pretty good defensible position here. Just we're gonna go find the PD and we'll come back and get you. You are in charge until we come back. Okay. All right. Let's grab one.
All of Charlie is security.
Yeah. Okay. That way, three of us. All of Zulu. That way, three of us can hold it while two of you come back to bring the main body in.
Cool. Okay. So that was three up there.
So cover the gaps when we leave. All right. See you in a little bit. Okay. Oh yeah. Got what? 1 hour goes by, no contact of any type, and we don't show up. You know the mission. Charlie Mike.
En route to the advised area to set up a patrol base, we encountered this wide path that had been created. What had happened was a person doing land clearing on the property next to the CMTC had gotten confused where the border between the two properties was and just bulldozed his way right on through and created a virtual superhighway trail all the way to the middle of the CMTC. What we did when we got here is we observed with the knockdown brush and trees that we were going to have a pretty good fallback defensible position if our primary site did not work out.
I was just thinking that looks like a pretty good fallback. We have to get to, I want to get to the vicinity and survey, but right now this is I'm kind of liking what I see here.
I mean, it's within 10 meters.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I agree. Let's go catch up with that one.
Real quick lesson to be learned here, guys. From the moment we start Warrior Basic and teach the first field maneuvers, we teach head on a swivel. You always have to be looking around. One, you don't want the enemy catching you with your guard down, but also you don't want to break contact with your element. If you notice here, my security element did not have their head on a swivel and walked away from their APL and PL.
Get me a 360 right over there in that bunker. And we're going to do a SEALs halt for 10 minutes.
Upon getting to the grid coordinates where our higher headquarters indicated they would like us to set up a patrol base in the vicinity of, we stopped, we did our SEALs halt. While we were there, we saw things we liked. Specifically, I liked the fact that there were already pre-made bunkers. These bunkers were there from the 40th anniversary FTX, and they created a very defensible position. So this was something that we did like, and it was going for the position. The position also, while in a heavily wooded area, also did have good lines of observation. So it was a good place to have a patrol base in a defensive scenario, as I had been given. But while we sat there, we could see to our rear that big trail that had been bulldozed, and we realized, having conditions that we were expected to have at night of practically no moon, possible cloud cover, it was going to be pitch black. Even with your nods, things were going to be difficult, and we just knew that that trail was going to be used. It was too easy an avenue of travel to pass up for somebody to use at night. So even though the position here was good and would have worked as a patrol base, we decided to go back to the alternate we had just shown and set up our patrol base there. That way we could be along the trail. If any enemy came, we could just have our patrol base also set up as a permanent ambush position. And it was a very good defensible position, even better than this one. And it complied with being in the vicinity of, so that's what we decided to do. Okay, so we got struck by camera gremlins. Somehow my SD card got corrupted, so I don't have any footage of us occupying the patrol base that we actually used. But let me give you a description of what was going down while we were there. Basically, we got in, we set each of the teams into their positions, and they were team-sized positions with the CP in the middle. Two of the positions were along the road. I put my Yankee team, which was 4 strong, on the avenue of likely approach, so I'd have my strongest element forward. Off to their right was my Zulu element, 3 strong. They were in a position to reinforce Yankee, plus also cover the the westerly direction of the road, should the enemy be able to sneak around and get us from that angle. And then to my north was my X-ray team, also of 3 people. They were covering the north in case the enemy crossed the trail and came at us through the woods. And then the CP was set up in the middle, and our position was such that we could reinforce in any direction that we needed to. So at this point, things are moving along pretty good. We had stepped off after noon as per our requirements. We had gone to our initial point, did a SEALs halt, decided not to stay there, moved to our secondary point, decided to stay there. Got everybody set down, positions built that were defendable, and started a rest cycle. So I felt I was pretty set. What I did not have, though, was any intel. My orders were literally to go into the area indicated earlier on the map and conduct defensive operations. No intel about the enemy other than they were approximately the same strength I was. Know where to expect them other than the fact that I knew their homeland was to the south of our territory, so they had to be coming from a south to north direction. But other than that, I had no information, so it was very hard to come up with a plan. So knowing that my enemy was coming through, and also having the knowledge that the class was about movement to contact, so the FTX was designed around that, I took my Yankee team, my strongest team, and I sent them right up that big bulldoze trail. And their orders were to do frequent SEALs halts and go to the end of the trail just to let me know how far it went. And they did that. They were out a little over an hour. They came back in, reported nothing. They said they did several halts, saw nothing, heard nothing. And then we decided, okay, fine, we'll set in for the evening. Kept up my rest cycle going. Made sure that our field phones were set. Made sure we had good comms with higher. And then I waited for dark. Once it got dark, I went ahead and sent out a much larger patrol. That larger patrol was made up of my Zulu team, reinforced by my APL and my X-ray team leader. And those reinforcements were specific because my APL had not only excellent night vision, he also had a thermal, which was going to be very handy on a night where there was practically no illumination. Next to him, my X-ray team leader had excellent nods, and most of the Zulu team had excellent nods. So I felt that was the best patrol to send out. And they had a 2-part mission. Zulu was to, or the majority of Zulu was to replicate Yankee's mission, to just go down a trail, frequent SEALs halts, go all the way to the end, and kind of see what you can hear, see, and also kind of tempt the enemy to give his position away. At one point, though, during that, the APL, along with the X-ray team leader and the member of Zulu that had the best set of nods, they broke off and went south. Our assumption there was that if they were going to set up a patrol base for the night, they'd want to be as northerly as they could get in the area. And that defensive position that we actually had thought about occupying was a good place to go. And south of that was a creek bed that would also be a good place to go. So I ordered those guys to go south and see what they could find. And they ended up finding the enemy just about where we thought they would be. However, the part that sucked was earlier in the day, while we were setting up our PB, we had brought along an extra 128 radio, and my RTO immediately set to work trying to isolate the enemy's frequency, and he did it fairly quickly. I'd say within about 45 minutes he had it, and we had comms monitoring. And so while the patrol was out, we heard it come over the enemy comms that they had possibly sighted somebody, and we heard back and forth, and that they were getting ready to initiate on them. And we tried to get a call out to the team, but it didn't happen fast enough. The patrol ended up taking a casualty. One heck of a quick but sharp and very loud firefight. And to the OPFOR, I know you said in the AAR that it was just a two-man LPOP, but there was way too much fire for that. And when we checked that position out the next day, if it was just a two-man LPOP, you two are the biggest litter bugs ever. So we're going to stand by our assertion that we found your main patrol base. Since my APL was able to lead back the survivors of the patrol, we had the intel that they were able to gather. With the conviction that we had found the enemy's main body and patrol base, we began to come up with a plan while we waited for the X-ray team leader to respawn. So we sat in our defense, went to 50-50, waiting to see if the enemy pursued or anything like that. We came up with a very cunning plan, Baldrick, and here I'll let you see how it happened. The plan was so cunning, in fact, that we did not want to risk compromising it over the radio with a very long conversation, so we radioed back to hire with permission to send a runner in to explain the plan. Well, hello there.
Hello.
May we come in and talk? You're the boss. If you don't mind, I'm going to gear down and because I'm overheating
might as
right now.
well.
Okay, so you want to grab a map and I'll discuss my incredibly bold idea. You recall in the Road to War, we said we were a mechanized force at times. I want to take advantage of that. Here's what we're proposing. Okay, I'm going to withdraw, based on the contact we've had out there that's developed since you left. Okay, I'm pretty sure I've found their PB.
Okay.
Okay, I know where their PB is. I know they've got an LPOP out looking for me. I'm hunkered down. I think I'm safe where I'm at. I do have a crappy plan to honestly just switch over to movement Comcat and go after them at daylight. It's a crappy plan, but
Oh, that sounds interesting.
that's my crappy plan. Here's my bold plan.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to withdraw, stand 2 time. I'm going to withdraw my force to Bill's barn so we can cache their rucks to be picked up by the mutt. I will then travel light back here to our motor pool, take the EM50, and go all the way around to this point here below the nipple. I'll stash the vehicle and I will occupy the nipple in force with my unit, establish a PB behind the enemy, and then after the PB set in the afternoon time frame sometime, go on the offensive against the enemy, who is orientated towards the north looking for me. I know that from my intercepts.
And hard contact.
And hard contact. I can get in behind my enemy and take the fight to him. But with the condition of my force, due to some of the people, due to age, physical ailments, and other such things, there's no way I can march them there with the rucks covertly.
Around their position.
Yeah, so I want to go out, go around, come down, cache my vehicle here, and then occupy the nipple and make that my base of operations.
Okay, when do you plan on doing that movement then?
Okay, at stand 2 time, which we estimate about 0.6, is when I'll start to collapse my force. I would estimate I would get to the motor pool sometime here in the 07 to 08 time frame. Conduct the movement, stash the vehicle.
Well, I like the boldness of it. So you are in the two sections, I mean 2 phases. One is to go back to the barn, and then from there come to get the vehicle around 10 to 6 and change in the morning, no later than 7 or so, and then do your insertion by vehicle.
Yeah.
Either this area, plan A, or plan B around here.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to give it a green go, but I do like it.
After the company commander consulted with the regimental commander, our plan was given a go with some modification. We were advised we had to stay in our patrol base until a minimum of 0800 the next morning. So I adjusted my plan accordingly. What I did was we maintained our defensive position till 0800. However, we did a full stand 2, and then very quickly after we got everybody up and online, one at a time, a member of each team would pack their ruck and then go back on security. The next member would pack, and then so on and so on until each team was fully packed up. At that point, as the sun had come up, I picked one team to ruck up, fall back in the woods just a little bit, then another team, and then another team, until right at 0800 I could look at my OC and give him the word that let the record show we were here at 0800. We then retrograded back to Bill's barn, and at that point we decided to abandon the idea of caching the rucks. Since we heard no actions like our patrol base had been found or been hit that was only a few hundred meters away from us, I took the risk of moving everybody to the north of Bill's barn into a thin tree line. Waited for a while because we could not get to the fob before 0900. And then, as you will see here on the perimeter of the map here, we followed the black line from Bill's barn, the blue line from Bill's barn all the way to the fob. At the fob, we took the opportunity there to replenish our water, plus get new water cans, get everybody a quick bathroom break, and then we immediately loaded up an EM50 with a cut V and support carrying rucks. We did not spend much time there. We did not lollygag around the fob, and we also were as quiet as we possibly could be as a way to not alert the enemy that something was up. Once everybody was embarked onto the EM50, we then followed the black line you see here around the perimeter of the operational area of the CMTC down to its southernmost point, which the vehicle was then stopped. We got everybody out. I took one team with me and went up and checked out to make sure the nipple would be a viable patrol base. Spent about 20 minutes looking and listening, and I kept one member of X-ray team with me, and I sent the other 2 members back to bring the main body into the patrol base. Now, while we were there, we got hit. What happened was an enemy patrol spotted us, and I only spotted him because I literally saw an arm sticking out from the tree few meters in front of me, well, probably more like 50, and then I said, that's odd, put my ACOG on it, waited for a head to appear, and then launched some shots at it. I do not believe I killed this individual, but at the speed at which he moved, his close hit beeps must have gone off. I figured there was 2-man patrol since he was signaling somebody. So got a few shots off, there was no firefight. The patrol came in, I quickly alerted everybody, and told the teams where I wanted them to set up, and just then we got hit. It was a pretty significant firefight, and I'll let my actual self in the moment tell about it. Okay, day 2 of the FTX. Last night was fairly uneventful in the fact that we had one patrol go out with a KIA, come back
Well, we did find the enemy PB. However, conditions were not such that allowed us to attack it, so we did a bold move completely around the AO and come into the south side of the AO behind the enemy. However, while occupying our PB, we encountered a recon element, and in the process of setting up to the PB, we had a pretty major firefight. Looked like the enemy did a movement to contact with at least 2 teams, and far as we can tell, based on reports, we gave 7 KIA in exchange for 3 of our own. Right now, we are consolidating our PB and getting ready for further operations in the AO.
After repulsing the attack, and rather surprisingly not getting re-attacked again, I let my force go through its respawn cycle. I then decided to send my strongest team in numbers, which was a full 4-man fire team, Yankee team. I reinforced them with my APL and my RTO to make a fighting patrol. I gave them a large sector to cover that I'll indicate here on the map. As a fighting patrol, they were insufficient strength that if they came across an enemy node, they should be able to A, overcome it, or B, be able to fight their way out of it. Part of the patrol objective was to see if they could get an indication of where the enemy had any defensive positions, and also check out the position from the night before where we believed the enemy to be. The enemy was no longer in that position, but by the disturbance of the ground and the sheer large amount of debris left in litter, we could tell the enemy had been where we thought they were. Since the patrol returned with no contact, and they canvassed the whole area that I assigned to them, that basically told me the enemy had moved northwards, and my assumption was that they were occupying the old defensive line established during the 40th anniversary. And I made plans that I would deal with them after dark. And I had a patrol go out, and I gave them orders to go out, find the enemy base, make soft contact if possible, and if they could, stay there to maintain contact and kind of be an early warning element for us. So they took their snow gear and their warm weather gear and were prepared to stay the night. Well, when they went out, they got visual on the enemy. However, they were pretty sure that the enemy got visual on them, so they made the correct call. They came on back and reported what information that they had. Based on where they thought they made contact, and they were smart enough, they used their wrist GPS to mark the coordinate real quick. We figured out that if the enemy was where I thought I was, we were catching a little patrol coming out, which later in the AR we found out that was the case. But it also basically confirmed the enemy was where we thought they were. So I let those guys get a little rest, and I put together another small patrol based on sending out my APL, my X-ray team leader, and also another member who had really good nods. And their job was to go out approximately 01, 02, and just do some harassing on them and keep them up, not let them get any rest or anything like that. Just about 30 minutes before that patrol was to go out, the enemy did a patrol on us, and I think they blundered into our line. Short, sharp little firefight. Killed one member of the patrol. Think we got another one. Random shot actually killed me, peeking out from behind a tree, just watching my troops handle this fight with no problem. So, lesson learned there is be careful being a spectator. The information we got from that patrol, though, was they immediately got on their radio and started calling back to the main force, and they were basically telling their guys that there was a hot pursuit, that we were all coming, and their radio net went live as they're going to stand to and making all these preparations. And at that point, in consultation with my APL, decided that I'd already accomplished what I intended to do, so I canceled their patrol and told everybody to go back to sleep with just 25% security instead of the 50-50 that we had been on. And we waited for morning. After a restful night's sleep, we did stand to. Surprisingly, didn't get hit again. So at that point, we withdrew our rucks down to our insertion point, called for extraction of the rucks. I brought the force back into the PB very quickly, outlined my plan of attack, for the day, which was a move into contact. We were going to march straight to where the enemy base was, hated a little, right up the middle. Put two fire teams up front. I went with the X-ray team because they only had 3 people. I put the Zulu team over on the right flank as they only had 3 people. And I put my APL with the Yankee team at full strength and trail with the orders to, once contact was made, reinforce the side having success and drive the enemy, and the other side that was held down could be the base of fire. And that was our plan as we move forward into the enemy's area. Well, we made our movement completely to where we thought the enemy would be, and we were correct in the fact that we found their patrol base littered with gear. They left radios, rocks, their sleeping gear, everything you can tell. They moved out quickly and were traveling light. So once we got there, we then took a moment, listened to their comm, see what they were doing, and we were able to pretty much deduce that they had gone down to where we were. So we ended up passing each other and not detecting each other, basically. So then we made a plan. We were ordered to move out by our higher headquarters at first. I refused to do that. I came up on the enemy's communications frequency because they left plenty of radios behind and we already knew what the frequency was, and let them know that we were in their patrol base. We had notionally destroyed all their supplies, and if they wanted us to go ahead and come and get us. After a short delay, the decision was made that we would meet in the middle. I then moved the force out, and pretty much the same formation with X-ray being a little farther forward than Zulu in a traveling overwatch, leaving Yankee with the APL in trail ready to reinforce whichever side needed it. We saw the enemy before he saw us, so I signaled for everyone for a hasty ambush, pointed out the enemy, sighted in, gave a real quiet countdown, and when we counted down to 0, we all opened fire, and the initial batch of the enemy, probably a whole fire team, went down in a massive fusillade of fire.
CCP on that! 20 meters! Yep, you guys are in. You guys are in. Let's go. Stand by, hold the line!
Each side was given 10 instant respawn to represent that the unit was larger than it actually was. When I got hit, I went back to the CCP. I declined my instant respawn and took over filming from there. I then went forward to the line and went over to see what the op-pole was doing and get this point of view from their side. Got forward was very lucky. Not only did they have 10 instant respawns at a certain point in the battle, their regular respawns came into play, and just that provided them a numerical advantage that eventually overcame our line.
Double up mags! Distribute mags! APL! APL! Take these guys, you know what to do! One move, one set. Are you dead? Get over here. You got 5 minutes respawn. Hurry up. Go, go, go.
I didn't realize that. I've been walking around filming.
No, right? Go to him. CCP on me! CCP on me! Call him out! Alpha, TCP! Alpha, advance!
No visuals on my side! No visuals on my side!
Alpha, advance and sweep! Alpha! Advance and sweep! TCP, hurry! You're getting respawned in 4 minutes.
We hope you found this coverage of One Shepherd's Alpha Company 2022 Fall Semester FTX helpful and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future One Shepherd coverage.